Welcome, one and all, to Spaventoso Reviews. This episode is number 2 in this series, and today we are focusing on Volume 1, Issue 2 of Firestorm the Nuclear Man. This issue is titled Danger Doubled is Death, and was published April 1978. The executive editor was Joe Orlando, and cover artist Al Milgrom, written by Gary Conway, penciled by Al Milgrom, inked by Bob McLeod, colored by Adrian Roy, letters by Ben Oda, and the editors were Gary Conway and Jack C. Harris. If you missed the first episode, be sure to check it in the playlist. The cover features Superman seemingly not wanting to help our Firestorm hero who's getting smacked by a villain. Firestorm, fearsome first foray against the fission-formed fiend. I wonder who that could be. This comic features the main characters, Ronnie Raymond and Martin Stein, as well as our supporting cast, Cliff Carmichael and Doreen Day. It is the first appearance of Edward Raymond and the first appearance of Multiplex. Superman also appears, as teased, on the cover. We begin in a similar situation to issue 1 with Firestorm fighting some crime against some random mob thugs. This time we are in Manhattan. Notably, an hour before school starts, Firestorm effortlessly turns the cement into hot tar, gluing the mob bad guys to the ground and saving the guy they were harassing. The onlookers in the crowd seem to already be aware of Firestorm's antics, either witnessing him on the news, maybe reading about him in the newspaper, and Firestorm, ever trying to impress the ladies, conjures up some flowers for a girl and she faints. We learn a little more about how the Firestorm situation works for the pair, since Martin was unconscious when they first fused. Ronnie is in charge of the physical body, and when they separate briefly after, Martin is dazed and forgetful just like the previous time they split up. We get some exposition and a recap of the previous issue for a few panels to remind the reader what happened, and then in walks Stanton Black. He is again accusing Martin Stein of theft and claiming he is going to sue him, but when on set with a sudden headache, he starts to see double. But before we can find out more, we jump cut over to the high school at the end of the school day. Cliff compares Firestorm to Ronnie insofar that they are both unintelligent and quick to rampage, and Ronnie thinks better of beating up Cliff for now. Later, at Ronnie's home, we meet Ronnie's dad, who works at the newspaper, and he doesn't seem to like masked vigilantes. We learn that Wonder Woman is also in New York. Ron is upset his dad doesn't have the same opinion as him, so he goes for a walk to cool off. We learn that Metropolis is just a few miles south of New York when introduced to Clark Kent, the evening news reporter who is reading a story about the new hero Firestorm. He seems curious as to the new strange hero's power and decides to go to investigate as Superman. We jump over to Martin Stein at the power plant, who is mulling the fact that he cannot bring the power plant online just yet because of the pending legal case. And after a few comic ads, we are introduced to the main antagonist, Multiplex, the duplicate menace. Ronnie feels the hit to Professor Stein from across the city as Multiplex smacks Martin, and he realizes something must be wrong with Martin. Ronnie takes off running, ignoring his dad's calls, trying to get to the professor as quickly as he can, but since it's across the town, he has to get to the train, but the train is taking a while, so he decides to try and fuse, even though they're 12 miles apart. It works, and Ronnie fuses with Martin and appears where Martin was to become Firestorm. After 4 pages of ads, we get back to the story where we learn the motive of Multiplex. He wants more power by feeding on the nuclear reactor and thinks it will amplify him even more. So Firestorm and Multiplex start to fight, and Ronnie acknowledges that he has heard cornier dialogue from Multiplex in a comic book, which is funny considering he is in a comic book. He takes his first real hit to the jaw, and after 2 more pages of comic ads, he gets beat up some more. But just when things are looking down, in walks, flies, Superman! Superman, whose internal dialogue tells the reader that he was hoping to stumble into a new member for the Justice League, but immediately doubts it as he witnesses Firestorm getting thrashed. We learn of another power that Firestorm has, the ability to self-regenerate at the atomic level, if he can concentrate enough on it. Firestorm seemingly begins to get the upper hand by wrapping some steel in a vice grip around Multiplex, but Multiplex punches a fire hydrant, which causes a column of water to rush up, and I guess since fire is weak to water, it catches Firestorm off guard somehow, and into the awaiting arms of the Man of Steel himself. Multiplex gets away in the confusion, and after some encouraging words from Superman, Firestorm heals himself and flies off to go find Multiplex, who he surmises is on his way to the local university to eat some more nuclear power. They start to fight again, Multiplex revealing that he wants to rob some banks. And Firestorm makes fun of him for not thinking of something bigger, like world domination. Something is seemingly wrong with this nuclear pile, and after 2 pages of ads, we learn that Firestorm transfigured the nuclear pile into phosphorescence, which is like some sort of glow stick or something. Multiplex blew a fuse and shorted out when he tried to absorb the phosphorescence, incapacitating him, so they take him to the hospital, where we learn the Firestorm effect was caused by fusion, and Danton or Multiplex's effect was caused by fission, and thus an arc villain story is born. Danton, still unconscious, is moved to a high security area of the hospital off screen, but not before we get some foreshadowing that they think it's not the last we have seen from him. Some parting words from Superman to Firestorm is a commitment to promotion into the Justice League, but only after Firestorm proves himself a bit more and hones his skills. And a last note from the editors is that this is not the end. And the next issue would be in the second week of March. So, that is it. Volume 1, Issue 2 of Firestorm the Nuclear Man. We learned a bit more about Firestorm's powers, some more about the new arch nemesis Danton Black, aka Multiplex, and a small teaser with Superman. Up next is Issue 3, so keep an eye out on this channel for more Spaventoso comic reviews.